And the greatest thing about this, I think, is Golgo 13's own, method of how to bypass a security system to get into the Nazi encampment. Apparently, what he does is he hires a film crew to build a set that is very similar to what the Nazi encampment and security system looks like, so he can practice on it and get through it, which I think was a really brilliant idea.
You are listening to Alternating with Eric. I am Connor, and as always, I am with
Eric. What's up, everyone?
So I am a bit of an audio engineer, musician, and of course a bit of a geek doing this anime review thing with my buddy Eric, who is a Russian martial artist.
Always something we got to go with, isn't it?
Give them some Russian, Eric, so they know you're Russian.
I can't tell if that was a pun or if you were actually describing me.
Well, you don't sound... Well, I think you sound a little Russian, like a little bit in your vowel sounds, but I feel like most people may not hear that in your accent. They might think American first.
Yeah, well, I'm very thankful you told me this, because most of the time I get told I sound American, then I sound Canadian, then I sound Kiwi.
You do, but you do have this weird thing where you kind of talk like this, and then all of a sudden you have these sort of harsh vowels in there. Like I can hear a harsh sort of vowel in there, like the Russian vowel just slips in there every now and then. You know what I mean?
Now you actually sound weirder than me now. Like genuinely sound weirder than me.
I did kind of a Southern California thing, and you're almost sort of New York sort of thing. I can't
God.
I can't do a perfect impersonation of Eric, because you've got kind of a weird New York thing going on. But then you've also got like the weird Russian thing going on, and it's trying to mix, and I can't do it.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am actually listening to this.
I am making Eric cringe like crazy right now.
You're making me very amazed at what the hell I'm actually listening to right now.
Well, I mix and listen to your voice, so I kind of know your voice relatively well now.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not trying to be a creep, but I do mix the show, by the way.
Don't worry, no one's going to think you're a creep.
Oh,
that's my department.
All right.
And the 6 terabytes of pornography that I have.
Speaking of creeps, guns are good to use on creeps, and we are talking about guns. That's our theme this week for our anime review. So we have an anime review, and of course we have a manga review. We're not doing a special on anybody this week. That was last week, for our Halloween episode. Yes, which was a two-parter. It was going to be a one-parter, but we had a technical issue, so it became a two-parter. So that is now that's out now, and all the episodes are up on our YouTube page, Alternating with Eric YouTube page.
Anything other or any other
Eric
name.
Eric made one mistake on the Let's Play video that we just put out. So Eric had a lot of fun doing that, playing Pokemon by himself. But before we get into the anime review, what have you been up to, Eric?
What have I been up to? Well, other than just working and, doing the little training I have been looking through quite a few episodes on Netflix. And I finally managed to touch up on, what I did was actually finish one of the series called BoJack Horseman. So I'm not sure if
watched that.
Oh, I've watched it and I finished it, all of it. I'm not sure if they're going to have a 7th season. It actually feels like they've stopped at 6. But I'm kind of hoping to see, if they could continue.
Yeah, I don't think they need to. They kind of concluded it, I think.
They have concluded it in the perfect way they could. So I've got no problems there. I'm just kind of sad to see that BoJack never really, met someone he could continue a relationship with. I honestly thought he'd hook up and continue a relationship with the Owl Girl. But then that just It was kind of sad to see that just kind of spiral down and out of control. It was a bit of a sad thing. I mean, other than that, I've been jumping across different other series. I've watched a few episodes of Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
Oh, that's a good show. I love
a few episodes of actually the first episode of Peaky Blinders, which actually looks pretty cool.
All our favorite anime titles.
And yes,
I love this because all our intro segments we don't talk about any anime, and we're an anime.
Actually, that's going to change right now because
Really?
I've actually managed to watch a few episodes in The Great Pretender.
Oh, that's a great show.
Because I heard you talking about it for the past 20 or so podcasts. Yep. I thought, okay, Connor likes it. I should find that time to have a look at it.
As well. So, yeah.
And I got to say, I don't regret it.
Yeah, it's a good show.
The premise of it is rather interesting, and the characters are, quite funny. And the art style is just so beautiful and just so amazing. And like, there's really no change in the way it's put together going from Japan to America in the story, but still it just looks fantastic.
Did you watch this dubbed or sub?
I can only find it I only watch it on dubbed really? On Netflix.
Okay,
because I found it on Netflix, so I'm watching it
dubbed on. The sub option's there. You just got to go to audio. And
the sub option is there, but I'm too lazy to put it on. But yeah, that's what I've been watching for the few episodes, and I mean, it looks great, but there is one thing that's nagging me, and I'm not sure how it finishes, so please don't spoil anything for me. But the premise to have three con artists go to a narcos boss to tell him that they have a new type of narcotic and try and scam him out of $10 million does not seem like a good idea in the end. Because as someone who has watched parts of Narcos, I can tell this was going to end badly in real life.
Oh wait, we talking first season Narcos, or we talking Narcos Mexico? Because that
first season Narcos.
Okay, because Narcos Mexico, oh god, that ends badly. Just in the first season, not the second.
Is there any difference between the original Narcos and Narcos Mexico?
Narcos, the original one, is obviously set in
Colombia,
and then the second Narcos season is all in Mexico, and it's all about Felix Angelo, I can't remember his full name now, but it's like 4 different names.
Okay.
I'll just call him Felix Angelo. But he was Angel, I think is his name, Felix Angel. He that's more about weed and about the distribution of weed, and then I think them doing cocaine as well. And just about those two.
Have they got anything else in there? Because I'm pretty sure there's some opium heroin dealings there.
Yeah, but I think they mostly focus on cocaine and weed, and it's a good show. It's not bad. Michael Pena's in it, and so is the guy who plays Angelo Phoenix. He's really good too. He's been in a bunch of stuff. You would have seen him.
Oh, yeah, that's all good. So that's been pretty much me and what I've been watching. Other than that, I've also been playing a whole bunch of games, including continuing on with World of Warships, and actually playing a little gem that I've brought up from my, massive Steam library. And it's called Rebel Galaxy, which is a space exploration game. Oh. And this is a really nice one because it's got a touch tone of country to it. As in country music, a little bit of, country themed characters. It actually was really fun. It's really fun because it's got its own unique style, and I actually enjoyed it a lot. Although right now I'm still trying to save up to get a new ship because, oh my god, some of these missions murder you. Like, genuinely just murder you, and you have to run away or just continuously get yourself screwed over. But other than that, that's pretty much been me. What about you, Connor?
So I was just trying to remember the actor from Narcos. It's Diego Luna, who you may have seen in a couple things. Listeners at home can look him up. I hope I'm coming in. Let me know, guys, if I'm a little quiet on the mic today. We're trying something out again. But you might have seen him. Eric, here's a photo of him.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, he's one of those hey that guys sort of guys. He's a pretty good actor, and I've actually seen him in the Terminal. That was my first time seeing him, Steven Spielberg movie, which Eric should watch that because it's relevant to his job because it's about immigration. I love saying that because we were making jokes about.
Thank you, Connor. Now I have to run away, get a new job, get a new identity, get a new life, and then hope to God nobody actually gets here first before I do all that.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Well, I didn't say anything bad about your job.
I work at immigration. That's bad enough.
Eric loves his job, and and yeah. So this movie, The Terminal, is all about a guy stuck at the airport because of his country being You know the movie.
I can't remember how it ends, but I know the movie.
Yeah. Diego Luna's in it, and that was the first time I saw him, and then I saw him in a couple Spanish things, and I've mostly seen him as a good guy, so it's cool to see him as a bad guy in Narcos Mexico. But I haven't been up to much. I've been moving house. So I just moved house. That was a pretty hectic week, first trying to find a place and then finally moving into a place and trying to arrange around how we're going to record this because we can't really record at my place at the moment. There's still stuff in there, and then there's also the issue of the room is big, but the closet space is probably not that big. And Eric's made a couple jokes already about my closet space because Oh
no, I didn't make a joke about your closet space. I made a joke about your window.
Yeah.
Or lack thereof.
I mean, every time we've recorded, you've made a joke about when we've had to record sort of not in person because we've been obviously in our old episodes. If you go back to our old episodes, Eric was recording with a headset, and I was recording in my closet with mic set up, very kind of crushed in there. So it sounded great, but
it did.
It does. If you go back and listen, I sound really good, and you sound kind of okay, and you sound better now because Eric is using like a Blue Cat mic, basically.
Or to translate it, I'm using something better than what I used to have.
Yeah.
Like infinitely better.
Well, I paid $200 and something for it, so it better be fucking better than... how much did you pay for that headset? Like $60?
No, actually, I paid like $30 for it.
Yeah. See, like he's gone from a $30 microphone to a $240 microphone,
which is definitely a good deal to have. You know,
I'm a little bit. So I've got a bit of a nasal thing going on at the moment. So hopefully that's not affecting my vocals too much today. But we'll find out when I mix this. So yeah, I've been moving house. I've been working a lot, and I've watched some new stuff, but I don't know if I want to talk about it because we might review some of it later on. I'm thinking
we are
possibility maybe.
It better be some good stuff, or else I'm going to be very angry.
No, it's only bad titles. You know, I only pick like shit titles for you to review.
What? I'm sorry, what?
Like all I've picked is Strike Witches. That's all we're doing for like the next 5 weeks, Eric. Didn't you know that? We're doing like nothing but Strike Witches.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's joking. We're obviously doing Girls und Panzer.
No, we're doing Ladies versus Butlers. You know that.
Excuse me? That's what we're doing in a couple of weeks. Next week, we're doing a High School DxD. Wait, no, hang on. We're not doing that. No, pretend we didn't hear that. Connor, do you think they heard us?
All right, we can't do that legally because we can and we can't.
we can't download it.
No. We could download it. We just can't say that we've downloaded it because it's illegal to watch in the series. But I think it's illegal to watch the DVDs in New Zealand. I don't know about watching it on a pirated site.
Well, I mean, have we ever been caught?
I don't know if we're legally allowed to review it. That's the thing in New Zealand. I don't know if we're legally allowed to promote something that is banned in New Zealand.
I mean, in that case, we don't have to.
Because, we don't have to in that case. I don't know if people know, but High School DxD is banned in New Zealand, and so is Puni Puni Poemi. And so is Iki Tosen, I think it's called Dragon Dynasty, the second season of Iki Tosen. But so
There's a funny bunch of things New Zealand could ban, and then there's things that it allow. For example,
yeah, We Without Wings is kind of an interesting one because that's an R18 moe show. I don't know if there's like sex or anything like that in it, but I know there's like heavy fan service, and that's not banned here.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of shows that are
Strike
heavy.
Witches isn't.
Oh wow, that is actually very interesting.
So yeah, interesting stuff that's banned and not banned in New Zealand. Maybe we'll do an episode on it. I don't know, but we have maybe I have some titles. So I'll maybe mention one now, but I won't get into too much details because people will know what this is. So this is a early 2000s show. It's to do with music. It is not K-On! I'm almost I'm just trying to see if Eric can guess what this is. Eric, do you want to take a guess? Music related, early 2000s.
Is it Haruhi Suzumiya?
No. What? Wait, you think Haruhi Suzumiya is a music show?
It has something to do with music.
No, it's not. It
isn't?
It has an episode where the main character goes up on stage.
Oh, right,
and does
never
a
mind.
music-related thing.
Something music
like a
related.
parody or something to K-On!, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So it's music related.
Yeah.
It's early 2000s. Nothing's coming up in my head.
Okay, so the show is Nana. And
Oh, Nana!
yeah, so it's
Wait,
a
is that early
shoujo.
2000s?
Yeah, it's
I thought it
early
was late
2000s.
90s.
The manga might be late 90s, but the anime is early 2000s.
Are you sure the manga looked late 90s?
Yeah, no, I said the manga.
Sorry, the anime looked
I said
late
the
90s.
manga is like no.
Yeah, no,
The
I was
anime is
saying-
not late. The anime is like early 2000s, dude.
Okay, I gotta look at it again because I thought it looked late 90s,
No,
the anime.
no. It would be like 2001 maybe at the earliest. But no, it's an early 2000s anime. So I've actually never seen it or really read it. I've been told to check it out.
It's about
It's about
punk
a band.
rock.
I know.
It's punk rock, isn't
yeah,
it?
punk. Well, I would say alternative. It's about like two people called Nana.
That's right.
Nana. One's kind of a punk rock chick. That's the best way to describe her. And then the other one is just like kind of an ordinary girl who has some interesting. Yeah, we'll get into it. I think we should review it because I had been recommended the show for years and I never checked it out because I don't mind shoujo stuff, but I was a little put off by some of the artwork at first and some things that I was hearing about it. But I've recently checked it out and I laughed at some of the jokes and I enjoyed watching it. So we may review that in a future podcast. And then there are two other shows I watched while I'm going to be watching, and we'll see. But we're thinking, I don't know, guys, if you can let us know. So I've been throwing this idea around. We've been doing anime reviews, and I like doing these reviews, but I know that's not like the format that everybody does now. Most people do like a informative thing or something like that. But if you guys let us know what type of episodes you like more out of the ones we've done. Like we've done specials, we've done like some top 5 type of things. We've reviewed like 3 different titles, and then they've done like a comparison. And then we've done like we've done it once. We've done like a full series review. But let us know what you guys want. We are gonna try and do like a really long episode. We want to. We're either gonna do that or we'll do a really long couple let's plays for you guys. But let us know what you want, and we'll see what we can do. But yeah, that's all for my week. In terms of just the YouTube page. I've probably already mentioned this once, but the YouTube page is completely set up now. All the videos are up. That's what I've spent most of my week doing, like sorting through that, trying to get that sorted. So yeah, that's been most of my week. So we'll take a short break now, and then we'll get into the review.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we are back from the break, and we're going to start with we usually start with the anime, don't we? So we'll get into the anime. So, Eric, why don't you tell them what we are reviewing? I let Eric pick the anime this week.
Yes, and I have been extensively looking for an anime that relates to the manga we are doing.
Guns.
Indeed. So, now prior to this, Connor did ask me to look for something sniper related.
Which is guns.
Yeah, which is pretty much guns. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of anime that are primarily focused around sniper rifles. There are characters that have snipers, which are
influenced by someone we're going to talk about when we talk about manga.
Pretty much. However, I did find one. I decided to just kind of go a little off track and go for just an anime related to guns. Mm-hmm. And I found one that I have previously read a manga on, but never watched the anime. Mm-hmm. So I watched the anime. I found it rather enjoyable, if not a little bit sad. Right. And this is Gunslinger Girl. So Gunslinger Girl is, I can't remember the year the anime came out on.
I'd say early 2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s. And this is an anime about an organization that takes in dying young girls or girls who pretty much have no life left in them. So victims of, whole family murders or anything of that sort, and essentially reprograms them and transforms them into killing machines. Of course, that kind of means that if they can't, walk or move their hands properly, then don't worry. The organization removes those and gives you cybernetic robot arms, and then reprograms your brains to forget whatever life you had, and then trains you to, kill.
Yeah.
So think. What is it? There's a few animes like this, but this one in particular has a very somber tone to it. Like the girls are all moe, the style looks moe, but it's very somber. Like the even the textures and the coloring and a lot of the theme of even the first 3 episodes is very somber. Well, I said the first 3 episodes, but episode 2 is practically episode 1 with a few things added in that we didn't see.
Yeah.
And then episode 3 is like, I don't even remember what episode 3 was about. It was pretty much episode 2, but continuing on. So there's a very recurring theme and pattern to how these episodes seem to be structured. But it doesn't exactly take away from a lot of what the anime is about. Which is essentially young girls who get trained how to kill. And I guess on the theme of guns, there are quite a few guns we see in this one. And from the looks of it as well, the era, it looks to be almost pretty much close to when the anime was created, which is the 2000s.
Maybe 90s, maybe just a little, just because I think I saw them use like phones and stuff that weren't quite 2000s.
Maybe.
I think the manga might have been like 99 or something like that, or 2000. It could be like a, because Black Lagoon's set in the 90s, eh?
Yeah.
It could be like a situation like that where it was made in the 2000s, but, it's like set in the 90s.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember, because one of the the gun that the main character, the main girl, uses is a P90. And I would have thought that was made somewhere in the 2000s, but maybe it was made somewhere in the 90s. I can't even remember that. One definite thing I've seen is that one of the other girls used a Soviet a Dragunov, which is a Soviet Union era sniper rifle, which is always the best sniper rifle to use. I'm joking. It's a very old rifle, but
so Eric has also probably played more shooters than I have. So he of course geeked out on all the gunplay here.
Well, not really, but I do know that quite a few of these guns are rather iconic and very not exactly unique.
What is
they have
the
a history
main
behind
gun that the girl, is that a submachine gun? The one that the main girl uses?
It's a semi-automatic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So P90 is a semi-automatic rifle. I hope, please, every gun nut out there, if you want to prove me wrong, go ahead. That's as far as I remember.
All our viewership is gun nut listeners.
Yeah, if we're in America.
Yeah. We have actually got an American listener. I'm pretty sure.
That's an awkward thing to say then.
Hey, they might be more liberal or Democrat. We don't take a political side here. We haven't talked about the election for a good reason. We don't. We've only got a small fraction of listeners. So.
No. And there is another, but it isn't the fact that we have one gun that's more modern age and one from the Cold War era. We also have a gun such as a revolver, which is something another girl uses, which I like. Revolvers are pretty standard. They're almost like a what is it? What is that? I can't even remember the name of this handgun, but it's also Russian made, but it's rather common and easy to grab. And I don't know what it is about revolvers, but I really like them. Just kind of the revolving chambers themselves.
I think
and how
one thing
operates.
you've sort of touched on, we haven't really got into. The show is kind of set in like kind of a dreary sort of European setting, and I think that's where a lot of the tone and the look comes from. I think that's why the show is like kind of, it's all the main female like girl characters look kind of cute, but the backgrounds are all kind of like dark and dreary. Would you say, is it like more like
It looks like either Italian or German.
I would think Italian, because I was thinking it was like Italian mob sort of thing. That's the vibe I got from. But me and you could be completely wrong, because it also could be, and you tell me if you think this is right, I was also getting kind of a Russian vibe, like maybe Belarus or something from it.
No,
really?
no. It would definitely
From the
be
buildings and stuff. I thought
it would be a little bit more decrepit and depressing. That is definitely somewhere in Europe, maybe close to Eastern Europe, but I'm guessing still in Europe.
Yeah. All the girls are from different places. I remember that.
I think our main girl character is from. Oh, where is she from?
She's German, I think, isn't she? Henrietta or something? Yeah.
No, that's the name given to her. We don't exactly know where she usually comes from.
But I think she got that name because she's German.
It might have been. So then that means that this place is taking place in where she was found, and where she was obtained from when everything happened must be from Germany. So she must be the German one.
Yeah.
And what's another? I think there was another chick there that might have been French or Italian,
or Trila or something.
Yeah, might have been French or Italian.
Yeah.
Another girl that I can't even.
I think the handlers have Italian names, if I remember correctly.
Oh, I can't even remember the handlers' names.
The handlers are kind of like, their personalities are basically either they agree with helping people, like the girls, or they're just like militant, and that's kind of it. And that's, well, we'll get into some of the pros and cons. Eric, what were your? So you like enjoyed the show?
I did like the show. I mean, the structure of the episodes was a little weird to me, but I enjoyed the somber tone and the. I guess how everything was going.
Dubbed or sub?
I watched this subbed.
Okay, so I watched the sub as well, but I had seen this previously dubbed. So this is my first time watching it subbed.
And what about the opening? Is the opening the same in dubbed as it is in subbed?
Yeah, it's the same. And I thought the opening. What did you think of the opening?
I thought it was pretty good, for a somber Moe anime.
I like the song, but I thought it didn't suit the show. Like I would listen to it personally, like in my car. I would listen to it on my headphones. Like I would. It's a song I download and listen to, but I wouldn't associate it with the show. Like it just seems a little out of place for the show.
You reckon?
Yeah, that'd be like my thing.
I mean, I guess this is something they wanted to cut as close as they can to the the overall message of it. But
I would think, honestly, with this show and with some of the music and stuff, I think you would be better off with the. I think the opening needed to be a little bit more sadder. That's the thing with me. It wasn't overly upbeat, but I feel like I'm trying to think of like the type of band that would maybe Garbage or something, like a 90s kind of like female singer, kind of like what we've got, but it needs to be maybe a little bit more downer. Or I would even put like an instrumental, like maybe female opera piece or something, like Elfin Lied or something. People can hate on that show, but that show does have a good opening song. The music is actually genuinely good. I will vouch that, and I think you could do the same for the show. You put like you put an aria or something over the top of it, and I think it would be like a good opening.
Yeah, I guess that could work.
Do something like that for the ending as well to work. Like it would suit the tone. I just thought, like, I watched it and I was like, oh, it's not a bad song. It just kind of feels weird. Like it feels a little out of place. So that's, I guess, what we're getting to pros and cons now. So I've already mentioned the opening doesn't suit the show. And I will say yeah, I've got two other cons, but I'm gonna let Eric talk about. You've kind of
The cons that I have is the structure of the episodes I've seen so far. There's a lot of backtracking to it, and there's no. I guess even though the first few episodes do let us start with, there's no real story to it. It's just, here's an organization that takes in young girls who have nowhere else to go and are transformed into killing machines. But it's like, okay, but, is there going to be a betrayal? Are any of these girls going to revolt? Are they, or have any of them been defects?
So I want to get into the big major issue with the show for me, which is the characters are all cold and kind of emotionless to the point of almost having no personality. The female characters. It makes sense within the context of the show because they're meant to be kind of programmed, brainwashed, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like
I wouldn't say there's
they're kind of boring sometimes, if I'm being honest.
Well, one thing is they don't all have this sort of mentality. There are some girls that actually do have some sense of humanity, some sense of sensibility, like the
Pigtail girl.
Yeah, Pigtail.
But all the other main girl is like pretty quiet, emotionless, stoic, like no real character, if I'm being honest.
Not really, but I guess that's I guess maybe
it makes sense in the first episode, but you expect, I don't know.
Maybe they were just trying to find a way to create someone from a blank slate to actually having some sort of
I would
character.
also say this show, my big con as well, is the characters. So I kind of knew this guy. It's a Moe show, so I knew this going into the show. The show, of course, it doesn't really have what we would think of as fan service, but it is actually there. The characters are like preschool age, which was kind of disturbing. Not because they're shooting guns, but just because some of the camera angles they use to them, like there's a lot of feet shots. A lot of shots like around the legs and feet. And sometimes it made sense because they're walking, made sense. Other times I was like, that looks like a fetish shot. And the way they're like dressing them and the way they're like making them weak and crippled and stuff. And like, they're going to be your fighter and they're going to be your... And these older guys looking after the girls. I was getting like kind of a gross vibe.
No.
It might have not been the intention. I mean, this might have been a completely innocent, like, I'm trying to do a dramatic story about child, what are you, child soldiers? I want to do like a child soldier type, child hitman thing.
It's a dark world of an organization that takes advantage of those that could be
which
thrown out.
Which is a real thing, and some shows do handle this well, but there are other shows where it's kind of fetishized, and this one isn't as obvious, but there are definitely times I was like, yeah, they're trying to fetishize this and sell this. Like, that girl is probably on a body pillow somewhere. Like, So there was stuff like that was kind of putting me off the show a bit. The things I will say in terms of pros, and Eric's already brought this up, the guns are very detailed and very well designed. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, obviously. Like the P90. Actually, the one thing amazing about what the main girl did with her gun is there was this one scene where she actually pulled it all apart. Putting it back together, and you can see like every bit of part of it.
So I think what happened with the show is there's one department that was like going for the Moe girls, and then there's one department of just one guy who's like a gun nut who's just like, I get to draw the guns, cool. I know exactly what knob goes there and what So there's clearly that. One thing I noticed. So I always try to look out for this as someone that's done audio design and stuff. The sound design is really good in the show. Like really good. Like I noticed straight away. Like,
oh, you mean like the themes of it?
No. The sound design. So the background sounds. Like the music is pretty good. It's a Hollywood. Like not talking about the opening. The like the background music is like really cinematic. It's very much like a Western drama, not like a Western like cowboy film. I mean like a US kind of.
Oh yeah.
Like you know what I mean by Western. Like I would say like you could. Well, I would say it's more like a set like a British movie, like the soundtrack, like a serious British action drama sort of thing. Like it's got that type of music to it. I would say like kind of maybe like a sort of modern one, not like the Michael Caine kind of 70s kind of drama things where they've got like a Quincy Jones theme thing, nothing like that. But what I noticed is like the way silence is used is used to like really show some of the great sound design. Like the gun sounds are really good. Sometimes gun sounds in anime aren't great.
Yeah, because you kind of only hear like the clack, 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 clack.
Yeah.
But there are some gun sounds that do make those genuine pop, pop, pop sounds.
I mean, there's a couple times I'm pretty sure they grabbed that from a sound library. But there were times I was listening, I was like, oh, that actually doesn't sound that bad. Like for
those,
I'm not a gun expert, but
if one thing I want to mention is that if anyone actually has seen it, those popping sounds do sound like the same, almost like the same gun sounds as you would find in series like the Chicago series.
Oh, yeah.
Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med.
Yeah.
There are some gun sounds in there, and the popping sounds almost.
Some of
sound
those
similar.
might be from a sound library though.
Yeah.
That's been used a lot, like for one thing.
Yeah,
because if
kudos.
one person goes out to a shooting range, records a bunch of stuff, then puts it in a library, then you can just grab that and use that.
That's a brilliant thing to do.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was done. But I noticed one thing, like, it's not that hard to do, but if you can do it well, it's pretty impressive. And that's creaking floorboards. When there's a scene where they're walking, where someone's like walking on the floor, and it's a girl and a guy, like an older guy, and he's fairly tall. Now, when you do something like that, you actually have to have someone walking on something, obviously. Like most people think, like, when they think of footsteps, they think of the, they think of the, what is it, like the horse things, like going across the stones on like a, some old radio guys would do that. They'd have like a bench and they'd have like their rocks and stuff to try and make sounds. But now we would have an actual person. Because I've done this, I've done ADR for walking. It's actually not that easy because you've got to like walk a certain way where I believe you have to like kind of walk on you can't walk on the back heel or something. You've got to like
walk on the balls of your feet.
Yeah, you've got to walk in a certain way that matches with the timing that you're trying to sync up with the sound, like when you're trying to sync up with the video. And basically, like for this one, they would have had to get the right shoes, record on like a wooden surface that's going to creak. So they'd have to try and find something that's going to creak. Maybe they're like, I would assume what they've done is they've recorded on like a wooden surface that's maybe above something. Like they've put it, there's like a box or something, like, and they've, not a box, like they've got like a piece of some sort of area or something that they've put like planks of wood over, and so so there's a bit of like a gap like underneath it, so they get a bit of a creak in the wood when they walk over it. But what they would have to do with that is either one guy has to try and make his like move his body in such a way that he gets the right weight of like a little girl, or they would get someone who's actually like a child to come and put on like the type of shoes that they need and then do the like steps for it. Because
that actually sounds cuter than
you have to think about. No, these are things you have to consider, because if you're like a really tall guy, like we have a friend who's quite tall, 6'10", if you get him to like do footsteps, he's gonna have a lot more weight and a lot like the way his shoulders are gonna move are different, because shoulder movement also affects like the way you make your steps as well and how much weight you put down on your feet. So all of these things have to be considered. So I noticed, like, when I was listening to the footsteps and the movement, usually good sound design, it should be so good you shouldn't notice it. I just pay attention usually to this sort of thing, I've just been trained to. And I noticed it was just, it was really good. I didn't have any issues with it. It actually added to the scene because the scene was meant to be a bit, like, disturbing. They're using silence to emphasize the kind of tension in the scene, and the actual creaking of the floorboards and stuff was kind of like building up the tension in the scene, which is what you want to do as a sound designer. You want to, the music is used to sort of build up tension and mood and set mood, and you can do the same thing with sound design as well. So I thought the sound design was really great in this show.
Yeah, when you mentioned all the sounds they made for the horses or
Yeah.
something like that, you reminded me of the Monty Python skits, and the Holy Grail, and whenever
well, the
King Arthur,
coconuts.
knocked the coconuts together,
Yeah.
which I think did a really good.
The best example of that to see, so there's two examples of this you can see. If you want to like talk about the old radio coconut thing, my favorite is there's an episode of, and this is a little off topic, but I want to talk about this because it makes me laugh anytime I see it. There's an episode of Get Smart, the old 60s TV show, which I like, even though there are a couple.
No, I only watch the newer ones.
There's a couple episodes that are a bit racist, where there's a bit of yellow face. But there's one episode where the like Russian bad guy who runs Chaos, the evil organization, he is they've sort of kidnapped him or something, and they basically put a blindfold on him, and they have to make him think he's going on a plane. So they have him in the seat. They have him like kind of in this thing that looks like a plane, but it's not a plane. It's just like a cardboard box. It's just like a box he's like standing on with a chair on top of it. And they just like, they're in the corner making all these like blowing sounds and all these like other sounds. And and there's also like a great episode where one of the guys has to go undercover at like a radio, and he makes all the wrong sounds for like the radio show. And the guy who's narrating has to change like everything in the sound design. So, when he needs someone to like walk across concrete, he's accidentally doing the horse hooves. So he's like, and then I was going to walk across the concrete, but I got on my horse. So, yeah.
Oh, my
That's an example
God.
of sound design done wrong. But to get back to this, I thought, the creaking floors, the gun sounds, just the general movement sounds, I noticed just really good because they were setting the mood really good as well. That's the only time you should be like noticing sound design is when it's used to kind of set the mood, use it to set tension. I mean, obviously, you think of Star Wars. That has like sound design that's used to invoke certain feelings in you. When you hear that laser sound, or when you hear the some of the other sounds that are in there.
The laser sounds invoke a noise that kids will repeat endlessly day by day, and parents might just
I thought overall the show, I would give it we don't usually rate shows, but I'm gonna do it. I would give this like a 3.5.
3.5 out of
10.
Out of 10. Ouch,
because I think the sound design is great. I think the show's a little boring, if I'm being honest. The action sequences were kind of cool, but they did seem, there were moments that seemed a bit fetishizy for me. That were just kind of bothersome. And I would say the characters are kind of boring, if I'm being honest. But I will probably download the opening for this show. And as I said, I will look up the sound design for this because it's actually pretty good. Although I will say, sadly, for our audio engineers, I'm pretty sure the Japanese mix of this is not on 5.1. So you won't be able to hear how good the mix of this is in a 5.1 setup because most Japanese anime is like, the sound design is usually done in like, I think it's like 2.1 or 2.0, which is pretty low. But what can you do? But yeah, that would be my overall final thoughts would be passable.
I guess.
With some good technical stuff there.
Well, I mean, for me personally, I usually give shows a chance when it looks like they have a genuinely good premise, and personally, I would think it takes some time to pick up. Although I would rate it pretty close to as low as Connor did. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I actually noticed those kinds of fetishes or things that they did,
just
or
some of the
rather
camera angles, the way they're like dressed and looked. I know it might. As I said, this might have not been an intentional thing. I've just seen enough of these sorts of shows where they.
I mean, some of the dress code for the girls is pretty standard for what you would imagine.
Going for any, but I did like whenever they change designs of them or something. I guess I've been kind of scarred by anime to think like whenever they do stuff like that, like that's what they're doing to sell like this, outfit or whatever to like the creepy fans or whatever,
Yeah. One thing. I mean, in terms of the opening as well, I actually did like it.
I like the song, as I said. I just don't think it suits the show.
Yeah, the song for me was personally a little bit weird, but not exactly the worst thing. And there were parts in the opening that didn't really match the opening song at all.
Yeah.
But overall, I might actually just watch and see how well the series might go, and just see whether or not it goes anywhere.
Yeah. All right, so Eric, let's get into our next title. Eric, why don't you tell us what the next title that we were reviewing?
So we're reviewing two titles, but this is all under the first collective
be honest,
title.
We're reviewing. So we've picked a very famous show, and we are reviewing 2 volumes of it. Eric has got the first volume that I bought him. We've got physical copies of this, by the way. We actually, I would have bought this. Eric's got one. And why don't you tell the audience what this title is called?
So the title of this is Golgo 13. Yep. And the book series I have is the first volume.
And I have the second one.
Yes. And mine is titled Into the Wolf's Lair.
And who is it written by, Eric?
T. Saito.
Okay, so
let me just look at his first name.
Takao Saito is he's the original creator, and he's been writing these books since the 60s. He created, I think, James Bond related material, and then he kind of created his own character by basically this was like Golgo, basically Duke Togo is his real name. Basically was kind of modeled off Sean Connery. Like, this is the way he draws the late Sean Connery. And so basically he created his own sort of James Bond. And most of these stories usually involve him using some sort of gun, usually his sniper. And he usually shoots someone. He's been given on a mission. He usually has sex with some chick, like kind of the Bond theme sort of thing. That's more common in probably the animation than the manga, but we'll get into that. And that's usually the theme. They're not usually too different from each other. So I'll let Eric get into his first volume, volume 1 of, and these are from the 80s, I believe. Yes. There is a series of these from the 60s, but these are the 80s releases of these that he started. So,
which is rather amazing, because I don't actually, or have never held or seen that many manga series from the 80s, which is...
Well, this is technically still running, and it just went on hiatus, I think, recently.
Yeah, well, I haven't exactly held anything that old or that often.
This isn't that old. What you're holding is probably a reprint from the 90s, I would say.
Yeah, I'll still say it's old.
Yeah.
But this is a very enjoyable book, and the one I have is continuation. But in this book, this is about Golgo 13 on a mission to rescue an operative who was sent in by the Israeli intelligence to spy on a secret underground Nazi encampment. Literally that. This is Golgo 13 versus the Nazis.
Yep.
Which I would think is a bit of a tasteless way of doing it in the modern day, but in the 80s, it would have still been pretty good. Writing out the Nazis as the bad guys is always, something.
They're easy bad guys to write.
Yeah, pretty much. Although no
one's going to be like, you can't make them a bad guy. They did nothing wrong. And then you're like, don't talk to him.
Pretty much. Which is really, now this first volume is really good. And it not only touches on real historical events and real historical, I guess some real historical characters, but it also really follows a good narrative on international politics. And the greatest thing about this, I think, is Golgo 13's own, method of how to bypass a security system to get into the Nazi encampment.
All right.
Apparently, what he does is he hires a film crew to build a set that is very similar to what the Nazi encampment and security system looks like, so he can practice on it and get through it. Which I think was a really brilliant idea. And this guy, Golgo 13, he's a goddamn one-man war machine. Seriously, this guy...
Stoic as shit.
I wouldn't even put this guy close to being as James Bond. I think I'd put this guy closer to being as Rambo, but in a more...
These were 80s, so
Yeah.
I would say maybe the earlier editions are more
Yeah.
James Bond, and this is more Rambo.
Yeah, but he'd be like the Rambo of the concrete jungle. That's what I think. And obviously it ends with him killing pretty much all the Nazis, burning the building to the ground. Mm-hmm. And then it follows on to another little side story where he gets involved with the in Afghanistan during the Soviet occupation, which is really cool to see because this is one of the few times I see characters who are supposed to be these badasses who don't get hit by anything get into a corner, and he gets out of this corner in some of the most ludicrous ways. I'm just going to mention one so I don't spoil anything or much of anything. He has a live bullet.
Yep.
Just one bullet, which he puts into a little machine, the squeezy machine. I can't remember what it was. But then he uses it, gets like a pin. Oh no, it gets like a long nail and a hammer, bangs the base of the bullet, and gets it to shoot out and kill a guy. He just made a makeshift gun, used one bullet, killed one guy. This guy, Golgo 13 is just insane, and that's amazing. That is definitely some James Bond shit. But there's other things he did, and it is recommended that, people come in and read this volume. So, wow. This was the first volume.
So I will get into the second volume, which is Galad-Pero. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I believe it's a Brazilian word. So it'll be a Spanish word. So let me know, our Spanish listeners, if I'm pronouncing that right. So Duke Togo, Golgo 13. I have a bit of a trouble pronouncing that because it's got a weird LR thing. Has been hired by a wounded citizen attacked in Brazil by, I believe, now I've got it here somewhere, the military dictatorship that was running around the time of sort of the 80s. I was trying to figure out the setting for this, by the way, because Eric reckons his stories may be 80s, 90s. These are both actually written in the 80s, though. I'm pretty sure, both of these volumes.
This is kind of the hard part about this Golgo 13, because the last part is definitely, the last story about the occupation of, the Soviets in Afghanistan is definitely the late 80s, because that operation was ongoing through until, I think, 1989. Now, the Nazi thing, I am going to go ahead and guess was maybe after that. But it's hard to tell because then there's one of them, because it does mention one of Hitler's previous aides.
But what makes you think it's the 90s exactly? What was like a thing that made you think it was 90s?
It's, I guess pretty much the whole theme of it.
Because it's pretty 80s art as well, I'd say. It's got a pretty 80s look to it.
More or less, it does. I would still think it is. I would agree with. There's some 80s, 80s themes to it. There's some. It might actually be 80s. It's just the inclusion of the last part in Afghanistan that makes me think it's closer to the 90s.
This was a little confusing to me because if anybody knows the history of Brazil, they would know that Brazil kind of had. So basically, they had this military dictatorship that came in that started in 1964. That started with a coup that took down Jean Goulart, and he was the last left-wing sort of president before the military dictatorship came in and took over. And that ended around 1985. And I believe this book is written in 1986. So this story could possibly take place in like 1966 or 67. I'm not too sure, but it's a pretty short one, and it's interesting actually when you look at Brazil and sort of this dictatorship, because Brazil had like a really good economy, good era around sort of 50s and 60s, and the reason I know this is because I did, for one of my degree papers, I did a paper on bossa nova music, and bossa nova music came out around the time when Brazil was in a very relaxed, very nice sort of time, which was late 50s, early 60s. So right before this coup in '64, and like bossa nova music kind of died when like this coup and all this stuff happened. Like as I said, late '60s, early '60s, like was when it ended. So like getting into the mid '60s, it was kind of like no one really wants to listen to this stuff when a dictatorship is going on. But it's interesting, like the music when you look at it, like it came out with this nice sort of somber music, and everybody's having a good time, and then the military dictatorship comes in. And the country kind of goes into this, kind of spins out differently. So this citizen's been attacked by this dictatorship. I believe they were called the Fifth Brazilian Republic. They also had a couple other different names, but that's the main one I've got here. And Golgo has to go after this guy. He goes through the many different ways until he decides he's going to hijack a plane. Just for the fun of it, I guess. He puts on a fake beard that actually looks really good on him. Like, I was like, he should just have this character design from now on. Like, he suits it way better. And then he just kidnaps, like, an air hostess, hijacks the plane, and then gets them to go over the area he needs to like, attack these guys, and then just basically, like, guns the heck of them.
Okay, are we still talking about a Golgo 13 comic, or is this just turned into a genuine Rambo thing?
No, it's the same. And then the second story is basically Eric would probably be able to fill more of this in because I'm not too familiar with this, but there's basically kind of a crisis in Saudi Arabia sort of thing, and this Saudi Arabian guy hires Golgo to assassinate this guy, and I believe he has been also hired by someone else from a government organization to take down this Saudi Arabian guy and his family, basically. And this has some cool moments. Like there's a hotel he goes to I don't remember why he goes to the hotel, but he goes there and everybody in the hotel tries to murder him. And it's a pretty cool sequence where he murders one guy, and then like one of the maitre d's or something's like, "I'm really sorry about that. That never happens at our hotel." and like while he's doing that, he's talking to him as he goes to the elevator, and behind his back, he's got like a knife in his hand. And he like goes to stab Golgo, and he basically, there's a really cool sequence where he, like in hotels how they've got that kind of revolving door thing, where like you go in and the door spins around, goes down the other side. He kills a guy by like using that door and their knife against them, so he can like push it so the other guy stabs the other guy instead of stabbing him. Yeah, and then two maids try to kill him at the hotel, and he ain't having any of that. And then he snipes a guy from like a roof by bouncing it off a building. I am not kidding. He like bounces the bullet, like he grazes it off this like glass temple in Saudi Arabia, and then it hits like the guy like perfectly in the head.
That's a 1 in a million.
Yeah.
That's actually 1 in a billion.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah, so
sorry, did he bounce it off of the top of?
It bounced off like a glass temple or something, like a temple that was nearby in the area.
That is both horseshit and a 1 in a billion thing.
And he does it when everybody's
God.
like, there's some like thing about like Muslim religion or something in there, and how everybody's got a bow, and like how it's the great bow or something like that. And while everybody,
you mean he bounced it off the top of a mosque?
Yeah, a mosque building. Yeah, because he's in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
I said like a temple, like a mosque, that sort of thing. Yeah, he basically does this while everybody's bowing. Like everybody's like doing, the bow to Mecca. And he grazes it off there. And the guy like trying to figure out how he did it. He's like, oh my God, he's grazed it off that building. It's a 1 in a million shot.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
Yeah.
Another way is, what the hell? And also, what kind of crack has he been spoken to?
Yeah, so I would check this story out just for the bloody hotel fight. It is an awesome sequence. I kind of wish it was in a movie. That's like my biggest pro with this. The action sequences are really cool. They're like straight out of Hollywood, I would say. They're a little bit more interesting I would say they're a little bit less silly, but I like them a bit more than the Rambo sequences because yeah, I just at least with these ones, well, yeah, that they are kind of Rambo-y, but I can't argue with Eric on that.
There we go.
But yeah, they're cool. They're cool action sequences. They're done well. The action is actually, I think, most manga. It's really hard to actually get action across in like a really interesting way sometimes, and I think this does like a really good job where it's like it would be cool to see this animated, but it actually gets across exactly what it needs to through like illustration perfectly. It's very vivid and expressive. Like that's the main thing I would say, like about the drawings and the artwork for this. But what were some of your pros, Eric, for this before we get into some of the cons?
No, the pros is the drawings. I really like the sharp
So you like the
lines
art
and
as well?
Yeah, I like the sharpness of it all. There's almost nothing soft about the way the that
His eyebrows.
no, like nothing soft about the way that Saito draws anything in this series. It's like the coloring may be soft in some places just for the shadows, but everything else just looks really sharp, really well detailed, and just good for the times that they were drawn in. And I guess my other pro is the really cool, I guess, 80s style action. It's the kind of thing you'd look at you almost see in an old Action Heroes comic.
Yeah, I feel like this wouldn't feel out of place actually if you put it in like an American comic book.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I almost have no downsides to it, I guess.
So my biggest downside is that this is extremely fucking repetitive. Like just everything that like his actions. The only different thing
is every James Bond movie. Explain why everyone loves them. No,
it's very repetitive, and in animation, like it's very repetitive as well. Because anyone that's seen the animated TV show, it's like the interesting thing is only if you're like a bit of a history buff and you like care about, which is what most of these are. Like these are fun reads, but they're not things you would like binge watch. I don't think I could binge watch the entire Golgo 13 50 episode TV show because it's literally every episode is he's been hired to kill someone.
In this game.
I wouldn't. I've seen like 3 episodes because it's the same thing. He gets hired by someone. He's going to go kill them. There's kind of an interesting thing with like the background sometimes of the person. Sometimes they're like a mafia guy. Sometimes they're, and you get a little bit of exposition about what they're about. And like if you know the history of them, then you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. He's assassinating this guy. But like some of it is, some of the animation isn't always like amazing. And then every episode is just like a girl gets introduced. She has barely any personality, and then he has sex with her, and then like she dies or something, or she lives, and then we never see her again. And then that's an episode of Golgo. And the movies are kind of the same, except they're done by the same guy who did the Blackjack OVAs. And also Rose of Versailles that we've reviewed. He did those as well. He's Osamu Dezaki, who we've talked about before. You'd know him. We've talked about how great he's the guy that does all those sort of very cinematic angles and stuff.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about him on Rose of Versailles, and he did both Golgo 13 movies, and they're very cinematic, and the action sequences in those look great. One of them is almost a softcore porn featuring action sequences. Like I'm not kidding. There is a lot of fucking sex in one of them. And yeah, it's like can't stop laughing. But yeah, overall, I would say like Gogol's great, but it's very repetitive. The characters don't really have, especially him, like Duke Togo. He's just kind of a stoic, cool guy, but he doesn't really have much personality. What about you? Do you have any cons of this?
Not that many. I mean, this is only my very first taste into Golgo 13. I've seen the anime, but never really made to watch it. I mean, just from what you've been telling me, just seems to be almost like the James Bond movie. It's almost a repetitive thing.
I think you'd like the first movie a lot. It's got some really weird sequences I'll show you that are kind of cheesy, but it's fun.
I'll definitely give it, more of a read, more of a watch as well, and then see how I like it from there. But I'm definitely keeping the copy you gave me because, wow.
Yeah, so I bought this as a present for Eric, and
Because this is the most redunculous thing he's had to do to actually get into a Nazi compound, to bypass its traps.
Yeah.
And I just think to myself, I mean, there's a million other things you could have done.
There are also live-action movies of this books that have Sonny Chiba in it, who is a karate expert. I've never seen them, but they are.
Okay, I gotta see who this guy is because does he almost look like Golgo 13?
Yeah, he's got the massive eyebrows. And he's a karate expert, so he's got the build.
No. I don't mind the martial arts stuff. I'm more looking at the visual stuff. Like how close have they gotten the actor to the character?
I'll show you after this.
Please do so.
Yeah. So this has been episode 34 of our
got the number right.
Alternating with Eric. So you guys can check out our YouTube page that is now Alternating with Eric.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. You can also check out our we technically have a Twitter, but it's very inactive. Mm-hmm. It's just called Insert Cast at the moment. So
but you can check out our Facebook, which is also Alternating with Eric.
Yep. And you can check out my Instagram where I will occasionally post episodes and just my stuff as well. And that is Insert Connor
and don't
Eric.
forget our Spotify.
Yeah, so you can listen to this, and you probably are listening to this on Spotify. Mm-hmm. And I will try and put this stuff up on YouTube as well. Let me know if you guys want this on any other platforms, But yeah, you can catch most of our stuff there. There are also Let's Plays on our YouTube channel. As I've said, I think at the start, we have a Pokemon Let's Play. Eric did a single episode because I couldn't make it. We'll see if we can get more content up on there for you guys. We have a convention episode up there as well. Mm-hmm. But this has been episode 34. Catch you later.
See ya.